your political theater to Texas.
This is not about political theater.
And it was more political theater than anything.
It's nothing more than pure political theater.
It's pure political theater.
What's up, everybody? If I seem a little discombobulated, it is because I have a lot on my mind and my spirit, but also I've been having a lot of technical difficulties this entire week. So I actually just need to make sure y'all can hear me, you can see me, because I don't know what's going on with my life. Like, shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here. Y'all are on time. We have a lot to cover, but I'm not going to be here for like 2 hours. Oh my God. I ordered some Caribbean food and it should be here by 8:30. So I would like to eat that. I'm going to eat my feelings today. Thank you. You can hear and see me. Appreciate you. I'm going to eat my feelings. So first and foremost, I want to I gotta say rest in peace to the one and only Assata Shakur. And we will get into discussing her life and legacy, and the importance of, what she's meant to me, my life, and also like kind of her importance to this, the relevance to this moment and how she helped us get here, right? And I got a lot to say about that. So I want to get through the other stuff first, because y'all know me. I got some stuff to say. All right? Right? Okay. So just so we're clear. All right. So there's a couple of things that are happening this week. If you have not been sure about it, the UN has been meeting this week. And so I was watching, it was yesterday. There was a lot of leaders of African nations that were speaking yesterday. But also, we got to talk about Netanyahu and people walking out. So let's watch this clip real quick, because this was actually funny. Sorry, it's not funny, but it's funny.
Defiant speech to the United Nations, Netanyahu addressed the world body at a time of widespread international outrage and isolation poured out of the hall ahead of his speech in a show of protest. But the Israeli leader was unfazed and he dug in his heels. He defended this war. He says that Israel will press forward until it finishes the job of defeating Hamas. Now, Netanyahu turned to a familiar tactic. He is famous for using visual aids and props.
They walked out. We'll get to the other part of that later. But he came to speak and people got up and left, right? That's protesting. That's, that's what you do. And when you're in those moments, and you have to remember that the UN is heads of state are gathering, right? Trump was there. Netanyahu is there. These are heads of states. These are presidents. These are prime ministers. These are kings, right? I was talking on Threads about the king of Eswahani. Is it Eswahani? Yeah, I believe that's correct. Forgive me for my pronunciation. Who has like 11 wives and like hundreds of kids, whatever the situation is. Anyway, so heads of state are there. This is a big deal, right? If anybody wanted to take out most of the leaders of the world, right there at the UN. So, there's a lot of security and things like that, which also makes the Trump escalator fiasco, which we all know is just a major distraction. It's not even a major distraction. They are basically grabbing at anything they can to provide a distraction from the Epstein files, right? The block is hot, folks. Like, let's be honest here. The Epstein block is hot. Whatever is in the files got these people ready to start a war, okay? They trying to distract us with every freaking thing they possibly can. And the escalator was one of those things. Now I'm going to give them, they made a good point. They said that escalator being stopped the way that it was definitely a security threat for Donald Trump. But I also said, so I keep wanting to say social service because, but Secret Service, they don't like him. So they don't actually care. But they need to care because your job is not supposed to be partisan. Your job, there are people that have served several presidents and vice presidents and things like that. So you're not supposed to be partisan. They are supposed to take care of him. And it would suck if he caught one to the neck too, because the Secret Service wasn't doing their job, right? Charlie Kirk didn't have any. Eswatini, thank you so much. Thank you, Eswatini. It was in my brain. Thank you. But Charlie Kirk didn't have, that kind of security because he's a YouTuber, right? He was a YouTuber. He was. He ain't doing that no more. But I'm sorry. I'm going to take every opportunity I can to say something ridiculous about Charlie Kirk because it is my right to do that. I have freedom of speech to be able to say what I want. Shout out to all the people that are suing folks for wrongful termination, or I'm not saying anything really, because you could have said something real like, bro, if you want to fire me for saying something about Charlie Kirk, let it be the most messed up thing that you could possibly. Well, you said I was touching the lathe when you spoke on this. What? I don't know what this means. What's the lathe? Am I slow? Am I missing something? Oh, my bad. I don't know what y'all be talking about ahead of time. I'm also, so don't make it too hard for me. All right, so that was interesting. And then the other part of it was that Netanyahu gave this really, really ridiculous speech. And I have to actually pull it up on Threads because I tried to send it to myself and then it wouldn't let me load it in the StreamYard. So here we go. I'm going to open this up actually on my Threads and then I will share it with you all because you got to hear what this man is saying. He is so odious. He is so vile. And remember, this is Political Theater with Dr. T. We talk about the things that these people do and say. So let's turn this on.
One by one. Did anyone do this? Did they say, get out?
Let me start from the beginning.
Just go one by one. Did anyone do this? Did they say, get out? So we can come in? Of course not. So the truth has been turned on its head. Hamas, a genocidal terrorist organization whose charter calls for the murder of all Jews on the planet. This genocidal organization is given a pass.
Look at his face. Look at his face.
While Israel, which does everything it can to get civilians out of harm's way, Israel is put in the dock. What a joke.
What a joke, he says.
You want to hear another one?
See, this is very Trump.
Israel is accused
of
deliberately starving the people of Gaza when Israel is deliberately feeding the people of Gaza.
He is lying through his teeth.
Since the beginning of the war,
and it's very
Israel has let into Gaza more than 2 million tons of food and aid. That's 1 ton of aid for every man, woman, and child in Gaza.
Lying.
Nearly 3,000 calories per person per day.
3,000 calories.
Some starvation policy.
You see how
if there are Gazans who don't have enough food, it's because Hamas is stealing it. Hamas steals it, hoards it, and sells it at exorbitant prices to fight its war machine.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody heard that, right? And so the issue has been, I watched the whole speech, and it's really hard to listen to. Because in real time, and it's so interesting, 100 years ago, almost 100 years ago, we didn't have access to seeing world leaders say these kinds of things and do these kinds of things, right? They just kind of did it and we learned about it later. Or if you were alive at that time, maybe you read about it in a newspaper or listened to it on a radio show, what have you. But the fact is, now we have exposure to this. And do you know what kind of a mind, you know what it is to be watching a genocidal dictator be so cavalier, so dismissive, make a joke out of the fact that he is absolutely starving the Palestinian people, is absolutely killing them. His soldiers are playing fucking war games and sniping kids and people as they are going to get water and food. They think it's funny. Israelis are making TikToks mocking the suffering of Palestinians and have been doing this entire time. But he was pretending, and that is what they do. He also said in his speech that that the Palestinians are the ones making fun of Israelis. I'm like, so again, when we talk about this collective gaslighting, right? These powerful leaders, all pretty much white men, are telling us that we are not seeing with our own eyes, hearing with our own ears what we are hearing and seeing. And they're telling us that we're crazy, that we're making it up, that it's not real. You know what that does day in and day out? As a survivor of, relationship abuse, it disrupts your nervous system. It throws you off. It throws off your appetite. It throws off your sleep. It disrupts your nervous system. You cannot settle. You cannot rest. You are always on edge. And as we log on every day, we are jumping in on this and we are absorbing this every single day. And so when we go and we watch the leaders at the UN, and their job is to talk about what's going on in their country, make petitions, make pleas, et cetera, et cetera. There were several really decent ones that were happening, and I'll show you a clip in a second. But like, we're sitting here watching this guy in front of all these world leaders, at least the ones that didn't walk out. If you notice, we're primarily Black and brown people, right? Noticed, right? He's sitting here telling these people that he is not doing the thing that we see him do every single day. They have killed children every single day. Every day. And are acting like we're not seeing this. I don't know about you, but that is triggering for me. And sometimes I have to pull back because I'm just like, yo, as much as I have built up a defense mechanism against this, as much as I've been able to prepare myself for this, I can't handle this. Shout out to Instagram. If you are on Instagram, please come join us on YouTube. We got a party going on over here. Not really a party, but Yes, like the video as you come in, please. It's very helpful. Definitely, share this. So, hey, everybody, I'm so happy that you're here. Let's see what else we got. It's a Friday night. You could be anywhere. You could actually be outside doing hood rat shit with your best friends, but you're here with me. And so I appreciate you for that. I got to get my nails done. They were cute though for a while. You see my little like chocolate box nails? They look like everything's like a chocolate. I got to get those done because they look a little whatever. All right. So here we go. Here's Colombia. Let's see. Let me share this one with you because this one, let me move a little bit up. Hold on. Hold on. Ah, man, I didn't get the timing right. Anyway, President Gustavo Petro from Colombia, for those who don't know, Colombia has definitely taken a stance in recognizing Palestine and in being against this genocide and things like that. In his speech, and I'll put it in, let me just put it in the chat actually, so you all can go and watch it later. He definitely comes for Trump's neck, and it's actually pretty funny. Trump does not like being made fun of. We all understand that. We all know that. And so once this gets back to him, it's cool. But his whole thing, and let me get my shit together right now because I've been thrown off all day, y'all. I'm sorry. This Assata thing, like I said, I posted this and my whole body hurts. This is a spiritual pain that I'm feeling. So I'm sorry that if I seem a little discombobulated, I apologize for that. But Colombia, basically what he said was and others from the area also, other heads of state basically saying, leave the Caribbean alone, leave South America alone, get out of here. You are planting war vessels. You are moving in and you're trying to start a war in an area that does not want anything to do with this. We are not down with Russia. We're not down with the US. We're not down with all this stuff. We don't want to deal with any of this stuff. And he's basically like, you're coming in and you're negotiating with a drug lord while you're sitting here talking about you're trying to prevent drugs coming into, the United States. So he was making fun of him and kind of mocking him, and you can all check that out. All right. So I just want to point out that, I'm going to go back to Threads real quick. This white man is suing ICE for $50 million. Shout out to him. I never cheer on white men, but in this instance, well, okay. Hold on one second. Let's get this going.
He was body slammed and pinned to the ground by federal agents during an immigration raid, despite being a U.S. citizen. We're hearing more from him tonight as he files a $50 million lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security. Fox 11's Laura Diaz now with the details. Laura?
Surveillance video shows agents first approaching the elderly man inside of his business 2 weeks ago. He says he attempted to ask them what they needed and pleaded with them to allow his workers to retrieve their papers proving they had a right to work in the U.S. Instead, he was thrown to the ground.
So you were ambushed 2 times, one in the hallway?
One in the hallway and one outside.
Undeterred, he followed the agents outside, where he says the encounter escalated, even though he was respectful. Rafi was now terrified, outnumbered, and outmuscled.
Wow. What can I do for you? That one of the guys came, grab me here, and 2 guys attacked me from the back, and they throw me on the ground.
At a news conference Thursday called by Shoehead.
All right. So, y'all saw what ICE did. Y'all saw what ICE did. That old man, but you know why they did it. You hear his accent, right? And so in this racist country, with these racist pigs, they assume that if you have any accent that you're not from here. And they don't actually care if you were born here or if you're a naturalized citizen or you got papers, Greek. Well, they don't care about that actually, because this is a xenophobic and a racist endeavor, right? So here you have this older white man who is a business owner, and he happens to have an accent, sounds Eastern European or what have you. And they decide to body slam him. Now, anybody can look at this old man and see he's probably a septuagenarian, so why would you do this? And they do it because they have small penises. The majority of the folks that rushed to sign up for ICE or that signed up when Barry funded it, right? They probably got shoved in lockers a lot in high school. People didn't want to sit next to them. They're incels playing COD in their parents' basement. And now they're hearing this call. You can get a $50,000 bonus. And they're like, oh, we'll forgive your student loans. They don't have student loans because these motherfuckers did not go to college. They've been playing Call of Duty in their mom Laura's basement, or Sharon. And Sharon still makes dinner for them at 27. And so they hear this thing, go join ICE. Sharon's been saying, if you don't get a job soon, I'm putting you out. I mean it, Brandon. She's been saying this for 2 years, but this time Sharon actually means it. So Sharon knocked on that door and went down in that basement because it's her house, damn it. And she said, Brandon, go get a job. And so Brandon was on Call of Duty, and he stopped, and he got his phone, and he went on Truth Social and saw that ICE was offering $50,000 signing bonuses, and he went. But Brandon is also red-pilled, and Brandon believes that women owe him pussy. And he hasn't had pussy or seen pussy since pussy pushed him out. And so he's mad, and he's angry. And then he was pushed in the lockers, right? And he couldn't get a job as a cop because he's too stupid. But thankfully for Brandon, ICE has no educational requirements nor any age limits. So he joined. And now he gets to go and terrorize people and get out all of that energy that he could release while masturbating, except there's a no-fap movement happening among the red-pilled kids in which they are now demonizing masturbation. 27-year-old Brandon, who lives in his mother's basement, doesn't even masturbate to let go of some of that energy. So that's why he joined ICE. He and thousands of others. And they enjoy this. They enjoy terrorizing older people. They terrorize younger people. They terrorize immigrants. And most of all, they enjoy terrorizing women. Now, I'm not going to show y'all that clip of that ICE agent violently assaulting that woman whose husband had just been ripped from her arms and from her family. I will only just say that I heard that he has been fired because it was, I mean, obviously excessive force. If ICE wants to continue to do the destructive things they're doing to people's families, lives, and communities, they have to catch one every now and then to try to show good faith that, hey, we can recognize when it goes too far. We'll take care of this, you know, because they can't keep going, right? So the agent was fired and is no longer a part of that. Oh, this is funny. Hold on, this one is actually kind of funny. Let me hold on, I'm not gonna do that right now. It's asking me if I want to follow myself. I do not. Okay, so here we go. Wait, hold on. Let's try. So the lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl Sears, is a Republican. Now, yeah, no, that's a Caribbean woman. That is a Caribbean name. That's a Caribbean woman. I'm sorry. Let me see. Winsome Earl Sears. Where's she from? Let me see where she's from. They said she's an American politician. And where was she? Kingston, Jamaica. I know. Winsome Earl Sears. Come on, man. Goddamn Jamaican. But what's funny? Oh, I got something in my too. Sorry, y'all. But what's funny is she's a Republican, right? And so I could say my little 30-second thing. We know that a good number of the Black women who don't vote Democrat are Caribbean women, and often first gen or immigrants or stuff like that tend to be conservative, tend to be Republican, unfortunately. And that we see that among Asians, we see that among Latinos. We don't see it as much among Black immigrants, but we will, you know, often see that enough for it to be something for me to comment on. And so this conservative idea, like a lot of people look at America and the United States of America as this, like, again, the American dream is very, you know, the propaganda is strong and people really do believe it. And there are a lot of Black people that come to this country and think that we African Americans are lazy and we're not taking advantage of the opportunities that we have here. And so they will come, they will be conservative. And please, a lot of these folks that talk all of this shit online actually vote conservative. Okay, let's just be honest. But anyway, so she is the lieutenant governor and she's running for governor. And that was just a video of no one showing up to her event. That was that. Now y'all talk about Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo wasn't Jamaican. Miss Cleo was just faking. All right, let's talk about this. Okay, Starbucks, y'all. Now y'all know Starbucks is closing stores, including, this is from Reuters. How the fuck do you say that? Reuters. Anyway, Starbucks closing stores, including the iconic Seattle Roastery, as the CEO deepens restructuring. So, if you haven't been paying attention to Starbucks outside of the whole boycott them because of the genocide, what's been going on is they've been embroiled in all kind of shit, mostly union related. Okay, Starbucks workers across the country have been unionizing at these stores. They're like, "F you, pay me. I deserve, you know, job stability, protection, things like that." Like most CEOs, you know, most corporations, they do not want workers unionizing. Thanks, Barry, for weakening the unions while you were in office. We really appreciate it because now that allows Trump to come in and, okay, anyway. So they really ran Hillary. And then they ran Kamala. Like, what? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Anyway, so Starbucks workers have been trying to unionize, right? And they've been successful in many stores. In fact, 59 of the stores, the 59 stores they're closing are unionized stores. So clearly this is an attack on the fact that they unionized. But I believe they had gotten a new CEO, or I can't remember because I don't keep it with white people, but the CEO had this strategy, this plan to Brian Nickel wanted to restructure and has been trying to restructure for a couple of years, at least a couple of years now, because people started boycotting Starbucks, and people are boycotting Starbucks because they won't divest from Israel or what have you. I don't know about y'all, but I was a Starbucks girly. And there's been a couple of times that I forgot we were supposed to be protesting them, not because I was getting the drinks, but because I was getting the tumblers. I collect Starbucks tumblers. So there's a couple of times I would just without even thinking, guys, I'm just being honest. We fall down, but we get up. Okay. So sometimes I'm rushing airport, whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'm in Indiana and I'll probably never see this cup again. And I wasn't thinking. But anyway, we're boycotting Starbucks, and Kamala's girlies were posted up with their little AI graphics that 92% is resting while drinking their Starbucks, right? Remember that? Remember that whole thing? So Starbucks, should have been suffering as bad as Target has, but anyway, they have been suffering and they've lost a lot of money. And so now they're closing stores. They're closing the unionized location, their flagship one from Seattle, right? Every time I think of Seattle and Starbucks, I think of the grunge movement. And they've moved so far from that, but that's what I think of. So anyway, the Starbucks and the Workers United Union represents 12,000 baristas. They began talks last April. They hit a wall. Many people walked off their jobs. There was a strike. Do you guys remember all of this? There were strikes and people were not crossing the picket lines. Some of you did because you didn't know about it. I remember there were some workers that didn't even know they were supposed to be on strike. It was a whole thing. So he is in his first year on the job. I know I'm not tripping. He's a new CEO. And his whole thing has been like, how do we bring Starbucks back to the old, vibe that it used to have? Well, oh, you said what? I didn't know we were still at Starbucks. Yeah, child. Maxine, thank you for being honest. It's okay. So at least we're owning it, right? We're owning it, right? We're together on this. That's what we do. So yeah, so they wanted to. This is the irony of it. And this is all I'm going to say about it, is that they want to bring back that old vibe that Starbucks had. And Starbucks really kind of set off this whole leave your house and go to a coffee shop and stay there. And I've traveled a lot in Europe. And one thing I learned about in Europe is that people go to the coffee shops and they don't take it with them. Like, I was embarrassed because I kept asking for my stuff to go para afuera or whatever, and they were like, where are you going? And drink your coffee right here and talk to the person next to you. And I was just like, oh, well, this is pretty cool. Did you guys do this normally? You just stand here and drink the coffee, the cappuccino, and talk to each other, the strangers that you don't know? Traveling to Europe definitely taught me a lot about American culture and how individual and disconnected everyone is, for sure. So Starbucks was actually doing that, and they really got us all thinking about, hey, let's go to Starbucks and do our work and sit and drink coffee and perhaps even go on a date. Because you stupid asses keep going on coffee dates. You buy your $8 diuretic, you're sitting there talking to somebody, and you're talking about, well, I could leave after 15 minutes. Well, the reason you're leaving after 15 minutes is because you have bubble guts right now. You know you do, and it's okay. And then you got to rush out of there, right? Because you got to shit. And so that's why we don't do coffee dates. Also, look at me. Fuck am I going on a coffee date for? But anyway, Starbucks is closing stores. So that's going to make it hard for all the Tinder folks that just want to do a little 15-minute meet cute. 15 minutes that you put all this makeup on and put on your cute clothes and then tried to make a messy bun, but it took you 45 minutes to do the messy bun. So you can go on this 15-minute meet cute with a dude who is never going to buy you anything for your birthday because you allowed him to take you to Starbucks for a 15-minute meet cute. All right, and we're done. So they said that they want to put Charlie Kirk on currency. All right. So the bill that is proposed calls on the U.S. Treasury to print 400,000 of these Charlie Kirk coins, right? And this is from Texas, right? August Pfluger from Texas, Abraham Hamade of Arizona. Hamade, what is wrong with you people? Hamade, let's look him up. What is wrong? Are you Jewish or Palestinian? No, you're not Palestinian, would never. Where are you from? You're Republican. You're Arab. Where's your people from? Abraham Jamal. He was born in Chicago in 1991. That's why. A little more on the younger generation is a little more conservative, right? Shout out to everybody in the chat. I love you all here so much. You all make me laugh so much. That's why their bathrooms are so nice. Yes, people be blowing up the Starbucks bathrooms because you're sitting there and now you got to shit because you're drinking this diuretic and you didn't bother to put any food in your stomach because the motherfucker you went to the meet cute with is too cheap to even get you one of the little lemon bricks. Starbucks sells lemon bricks. Get you one, and you can't even afford to get you that because he's poor. That's why he took you to Starbucks. But okay, Charlie Kirk, they want to put him on a coin, and it's proposed by I honestly think that Hamade is just trying to save his own ass. Look, he knows I'm a brown man in a time where they're turning against all the brown people. Let me hop on this real quick and save my own ass. So in addition to Kirk's image, this is coming from Newsweek. In addition to Kirk's image, the coins would include the message, "Well done, good and faithful servants." They would be minted in the year 2026 with his full name on it. Friends, put me on a coin. I'm a YouTuber too. I'm a political YouTuber. I do debates. I discuss major issues. Why don't I get a coin? Oh, because somebody didn't shoot me in the throat. Well done, good and faithful servant has been the tagline that they've been using for Charlie Kirk to sanitize his image and to try to get us to forget that he was a virulent racist, sexist, misogynist, xenophobic, queerphobic, actually stupid person, right? Which I still believe it was a con. Let me put my hat on. Oh, jeez, got the hat. I still believe he was running a long con, y'all. I do. I just fundamentally believe that. All right, tinfoil hat is off. All right, so that was Charlie. Oh, so let's get some follow-up on the Dallas ICE shooter. Speaking of 29-year-olds that live in their parents' basements, right? We were talking about Joshua John on last time we were here. If you missed it, that's okay. You can go back and watch it. Jonathan John was identified. We don't even have to say allegedly because they did identify him as the shooter that was shooting at the ICE field office. Excuse me. And this just happened on Wednesday. Y'all, the world moves so fast. It's Friday. This just happened. Y'all. Am I breaking up? Sorry. Excuse me. My throat is dry. I'm telling you, this ain't nothing but. I'm sorry, I'm breaking up, y'all. I got too much shit open. Actually, let me close some of these tabs. That's probably the issue. I got all the YouTube tabs. I got everything going on. Let me make sure I don't. Let me close Facebook. I don't need none of this. I'm here. I'm still here. Okay. So his family came out and was like, nah, he's not a radical leftist, right? And so what's interesting about that is that you notice they have not talked about this anymore, right? So we were talking about this on where they were like, oh, he's not a radical leftist or anything like that, right? They posted a picture of the family fishing together when he was a bit younger. Notice that most of the pictures that they're showing are from 2016 or 15, when he did have some trouble with the law. So they did find some mugshots. At least they do that because, you know, they usually say that for Black and brown people. So at least they pulled out his mugshots. But also I found a recent picture of him, and my gosh. Ooh, I don't know what he's been through. That was a hard 29 years. That's all I'm going to say. And so that's why they're showing the younger pictures, right? Not a leftist, not at all. They said that your man is an edgelord, that your man be on Reddit, he be on 4chan, he be talking in the message boards, he posts sarcastic boy talk, which is rape. He makes rape jokes, they said. R word, I should say. Don't. Oh my God, I'm never getting monetized. I'm never getting monetized. They said that he was that guy. And that's exactly who we knew he was. All we had to do is look at him, right? With his little hype beast haircut or whatever that he had. We knew this. We knew this was not a radical leftist, right? We knew that what's happening among these young, white, disaffected men is that they are being red-pilled and they are being radicalized online. They know that these guys are being radicalized online, and they know exactly who is doing it, which is why they are pushing the narrative that it is the radical left. It's not. They know it's their own people. They know it's their sons. They know it's their grandsons. They know every single time one of these like major shootings or something happens, it's one of them. It's a young white man looking for attention and clout. Don't forget, these people worship Elliot Rodger, okay? Go look it up if you don't remember who he is, but he is the patron saint of incels and mass shooters, okay? Incel culture, mass shooter lore, Elliot Rodger. And they look up to him and they admire him. They also see how Luigi Mangione has been treated, okay? Allegedly, Luigi, they're accusing him of shooting a CEO in broad daylight. I don't believe that he did that. And that's okay. But see how he's being treated, getting all this notoriety, all of this attention in the media. Ever since Columbine, these young white men started seeing this as the way to be seen and to be heard, okay? They're barking up the wrong trees. They're trying to make this about political violence. It is not about political violence. Again, these are edgelords. They are shit posters. These are gamers. The dude was into South Park. They said he would be talking about, he'd be on the gaming message boards. He's 29 years old, can't get a job, and smokes a lot of marijuana or cannabis, and is online talking about South Park. You can't get more prototypical than that. That is the quintessential school shooter. Okay? They're just graduating beyond now. Now they're targeting, you know, ICE and CDC and CEOs, whatever the situation is, because they know it gets that attention. School shootings do nothing anymore. They realize this. You hear what I'm saying? Y'all hear what I'm saying? School shootings don't do anything anymore. School shootings, you're not going to get Adam Lanza treatment anymore. Adam Lanza, just so y'all remember, that's the dude that shot up Sandy Hook. Them babies should have graduated by now, but they didn't. You're not going to get Adam Lanza fame anymore, because how many of you can remember the last 5 school shooter names? Because it happens so often now that one day, we talk about it for one day now, and it's like, it's another school shooting. It's another school shooting, right? Yes, very nihilistic at this point with the shootings, very much so. And these sons of MAGA that didn't get into Harvard like JD Vance are mad that Trump and Vance will take their SSA and SNAP benefits. It's not that. And I like that you thought about that, but I want to make sure that nobody else thinks that it's even that deep. It's not. Nobody pays attention to these guys. These are guys who are ignored. Women don't pay them any attention. They were not popular in school. They can't get jobs. They didn't go to college. They're too fat to join the service, right? They have nothing. So they want the attention. They want the notoriety. They are meeting, and their community is online And all they do is spout racist and sexist things to each other. That's how they build community. Community is so bromantical, right? Remember when we talk about, like, you know, these men, they admire other men. They are in love with other men. They may want to have sex with women, but the people that they love are actually other men. They only respect men. They only look up to men. Like, they don't respect women. They don't admire them. They don't see women as human beings. Women are just fleshlights, walking fleshlights, right? But they want the love from their bros. They want the love from the Andrew Tate types. They want to be acknowledged. They're the types that if Andrew Tate liked one of their posts on X, they would put that in their bio. Liked by Andrew Tate 8/15/22. They would put that because that is so important to them. And I'm telling you this because I want you to see the similarities between this and stan culture. They are no different. We can't sit here and point fingers at them without pointing fingers at the Beehive, the K-Hive, the Navy, the Barbs, all of that. It's all the same. It's a collective group mentality. It is a need to be seen, is a need to belong. There's stuff going on, right? So we understand that. And if we can understand what's happening and why it's happening, we can fix it. But they don't want to fix it. And that's so fascinating to me because they're talking about replacement, the great replacement. They're talking about people not having enough babies. That's why. Because the men who could be having sex and procreating are in their parents' basements talking to other men all day long about how much they hate women and how much women don't pay attention to them, or how much they hate Jewish people, how much they hate Black people, or whatever it is, how much they hate the queers. That's what they do all day long. That's why they ain't getting no pussy. And we're lucky if they bathe. So that's what he did. This disaffected white man, 29 years old, living with his parents, got a gun and went and shot at the ICE facility. He didn't care about the agents. He didn't care about the detainees. His family said he don't care either way. He is not at all invested in any of this. His friends said he's an edgelord. So that's what needs to be investigated. You feel what I'm saying? All right. That's all. I don't want to talk about that. James Comey is indicted. I'm sorry. A federal grand jury, this is from MSNBC, federal grand jury in Virginia on Thursday formally charged former FBI Director James Comey with lying to Congress and obstruction of a congressional proceeding days after President Trump forced out the U.S. attorney who had opposed bringing the case and publicly urged his attorney general to prosecute it. So, okay, so that was a lot there. So what happened was Trump said, I'm going after Comey. Trump's person said, no, we have nothing to go on here. We got nada. We can't indict him. I could do a ham sandwich. I can't do this. This ain't it. Okay. And they fired that person. And then they got this TD Bopper. Well, she's 36. But anyway, she's 36, blonde, pageant girl. She was one in the Miss Colorado pageant, right? Giving Erica Kirk, right? Erica Kirk. Is Emily or Erica? I think it's Erica. Because Erica Kirk was a pageant girly as well, one of Trump's pageant girlies. Maybe next time I'll start making those connections. Because whatever. But anyway, so James Comey, but her emails. They indicted him. This case is gonna be gone by the time we wake up on Monday. Like they have nothing. If I'm Comey, like I might sue you, like just for playing in my face and wasting my time. I'm gonna sue you for legal fees. But I was listening to the podcast today, and I'm sorry that I forget, but they said one of the goals is to bankrupt people. And so when Trump goes after his enemies and ties them up in court, the government has all the money they can. They print money. They about to print Charlie Kirk money. But individuals have to pay for legal representation to fight off these things. And these things can take days, weeks, months. and people are missing work. They're doing all these kinds of things just to try to defend themselves against the president of the United States, right? And that hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That a lot of people don't just have laying around. Like most of us do not have hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around. So when you can bankrupt folks, right, you weaken their ability to clap back. Comey, the case against Comey is complete nonsense, and it's done. So that's that. All right. So I want to get into the passing of Assata Shakur. And I want to show this, just show you this photo. For those of you who have never heard of Assata Shakur, I just want you to see this image of her. This is one of my favorite photos that I've ever seen of Assata Shakur. And this is from the Hood Communist. It's a blog, the Hood Communist. Okay, so you all see what Assata Shakur is. Now, who's Assata Shakur? Trying to look. I know I got the book over there somewhere. It's up in there somewhere. Anyway, there it is. Hold on one second, y'all. I'll be looking at my butt. Okay. All right. Oh, shoot. What just happened? All right. This book right here, Assata, an autobiography. This should be in your library. This should be in your library. If it's not in your library, you should go get it. I have had this copy. I think my maiden name is in this. Woo! This book is so important. Assata tells her story. I love autobiographies. One's not written with Alex Haley. That's a plagiarizing, lying, so. Assata Shakur, born Joanne, but we respect names, right? We respect self-determination. We respect people's right to identify and name themselves, right? Kuchi Chagalia. It's the media is absolutely spinning things, and I actually want to show you and point out some of these headlines. So let me share this with you. We have a responsibility to tell the truth. We can't never trust the media to tell the truth. All right, look at this headline. Assata Shakur, a fugitive Black militant sought by the U.S. since 1979, dies in Cuba. That is the framing that they chose. Okay. Al Jazeera, though, says Assata Shakur, U.S. Black liberation activist exiled in Cuba, dies at 78. You understand why you got to find better news sources? Now, if you go to Fox, Fox says what? Convicted cop killer Assata Shakur, an FBI most wanted terrorist, dead in Cuba, the communist regime says. Okay. So, even CNN says Assata Shakur, fugitive from FBI and Tupac's godmother, dies in Cuba. I also want you to note all the people that were writing these, right? Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to actually turn off Instagram because I think that the bandwidth is doing some things over here. I see y'all over here. I really wish you would join me over on YouTube, but I am going to turn this off because it's causing my stream to mess up. Sorry, y'all. Oh, no. What is going on? Hold on. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what just happened. You see how the white devil be working. I'm trying to talk about One of the greatest freedom fighters of all time. And now, you see, they messing with my stuff. They was messing with my stuff, and I can't do this. Oh my God. This is crazy. I never have these issues. I never have these issues. All right, let's hope that I'm back. Let's hope that I'm back. My goodness. So anyway, thank you everybody. We're almost at 100 people. That's awesome. How do I talk about Assata without completely losing it? Okay. Worked with the Black Panthers, free food programs, community initiatives. She was, in fact, the godmother of Tupac Shakur. She's close to his family. And she was convicted of allegedly killing a police officer. You will never hear me say anything related to that because it's not my business. But if you saw me posting today, you saw the picture that I posted of Assata Shakur. Then you saw the picture of her in an ambulance after they shot her up, tried to kill her, right? I always show that picture. That's actually my that's my profile picture on Facebook, on my private Facebook, because you look in her eyes, she's like, and I'll do it again. There's a look. Let me see if I can find that picture because I had a. I want to show you all. Assata was a very powerful writer, and that's why I'm pushing the autobiography. The way she would talk about things were so relatable. And I love listening to clips of her talking and giving interviews and things like that. But she had a way with words that she just really got to the heart of the matter. This is what this is, right? We are Black people here. I'm going to show you right now. Let me show you this picture because it's actually one of my favorite pictures of her as well. So this picture right here, okay? Look at her eyes. She's like, I dare you to try me again. And this picture has always stayed with me and has inspired me. Like times where I feel like I am so beat down to the ground and I'm not sure that I can get up again and try all this again tomorrow. I think about the power in this look. Like she was almost dead and still in her eyes, you see that love of freedom in her eyes, right? And so, yes, she was eloquent and intelligent without being elitist, right? She met the people where they are. And so I posted that and quoted it saying, you died, I cried, and kept on getting up a little slower and a lot more deadly. And that is a direct quotation from Assata Shakur. And so she was in exile in Cuba. And at first, you know, people were like, oh, she didn't know where she was, but she was in Cuba, and it was a known fact that she is in Cuba. And they had a bounty for her because they said that she was a cop killer, right? Let me show you the most wanted poster that they had about her, because why not? So this is what they had. Joanne Deborah Chesimard would not acknowledge, you know, her chosen name, but they put aliases, various aliases. Shout out to her for all those aliens. Chesimard was great. Birthplace, New York City. Hair, they describe her, all these things. And the reward, the FBI was offering up to $1 million for information directly leading to the apprehension, right? And so it says she may wear her hair in a variety of styles and dress in African tribal clothing. Okay, the white supremacy of that, the Eurocentricity of that, right? So then they say, caution. She is wanted for escaping from prison in Clinton, New Jersey, while serving a life sentence for murder. On May 2nd, 1973, she was a part of a revolutionary extremist organization known as the Black Liberation Army, right? Because any group that is here for Black liberation, any group that opposes whiteness and capitalism and white supremacy and patriarchy and all those things is extremist, right? And the two accomplices were stopped for a motor vehicle violation on the turnpike by two troopers. And at the time, she was wanted for involvement in several felonies, including a bank robbery. Again, don't ever believe what the police are saying. They had all kinds of charges for all kinds of, for various people. Angela Davis will tell you that. Bobby Seale will tell you that. All of that stuff. She fled the scene, but was subsequently apprehended. One of her accomplices was killed in the shootout, and the other was also apprehended and remains in jail. In 1977, she was found guilty of first-degree murder, assault, and battery of a police officer. As she said, she was tried by an all-white jury, and they were already biased. She did not have a chance at a fair trial at all. And she escaped from prison, and they said in 1979, and lived underground before being located in Cuba in 1984. Okay, so that's just some background on what the government says and how she came to be in Cuba. I remember going, first time I went to Cuba, I was just like, I hope I see her. Like, you don't understand. I was just like walking around all the very Black area. It's kind of like, am I going to see her? Like, it would have been an honor for me. I would have never told y'all. I'd have took a picture and I'd wait for this particular moment to share it. But knowing that she was there, a lot of people say, oh, she was free. And she wasn't free, right? She was in Cuba in exile. And a lot of people don't understand what exile is, because in order to be kind of exiled, you have to be meaningful and be a part of something. So you actually have to do stuff that would lead to you being in exile. But she could not have that communication with her family. She could not, she couldn't raise her daughter. Like, she couldn't come here. Like, any kind of interaction she may have had with someone on this side could lead to her, having more issues. Now, shout out to Cuba for never giving her up and things like that. They were very much aligned with what the Black Liberation Army stood for. And it's really, I have some quotations that I want to share with you all. I made this morning, but I guess when I heard the news, I had to kind of pour it into something. People know I am pretty creative sometimes. I like making graphics. I've been teaching myself Canva for like 3 years now. But anyway, so I posted this because I am very much inspired by Assata Shakur when it comes to education. Part of why I started Sankofa Summer School is because of this idea that we need revolutionary education, right? All of them talked about this. And this is something that I think is really important. If you're new to kind of Black liberation talk and Black freedom and all of this kind of stuff and what these folks were doing in the 60s and 70s, it's very important that you understand that these people believed truly that education was the key to freedom. And it was because they recognized, like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, Harvard grad, that should be a household freaking name like Du Bois is. But anyway, Carter G. Woodson said, we have been miseducated. John Henrik Clarke said, the media is destroying us. Malcolm X talked about this. All these people talked about this stuff. Like, they recognized that education was absolutely essential because we have to reprogram hundreds of years of being told that we are worthless, we are nothing, not being allowed to emote, can't smile when we're happy, can't cry when we're sad. Okay, why do you think Black folks got such wild ass emotional dysregulation issues today? It's from white supremacists telling us that we can't smile. I ask brothers all the time, how come you don't smile in your pictures? When does the Black man learn to smile? The only ones who seem to be able to smile are queer and gay, which means happy. So maybe there's something there. But they understood that we have been programmed, intentionally miseducated. That's why I just had a talk today with my son. He called me. He said, Ma, I just want to ask you something real quick. I said, what's up, baby? He said, my professor kind of gets on us if somebody says slave. And I said, good. And he said, well, what do you think about that? I said, because they're not slaves. They were enslaved people. And so I went and explained to him that we discuss what happened to our ancestors. We don't make them into what happened, right? By saying that they are enslaved, that burden goes on the enslavers for the atrocity that they committed and the trauma, right? We don't own that status. And it made sense to him, so he understood. It's education, right? In that moment, teachable moment. My son understands that, right? We understand that. That is not what we were told for hundreds of years. And my son even said, he said, I've had some Black teachers before who called them sassy because they were not taught differently. They were taught it with white ways of being and white ways of knowing. And according to white ways of knowing, our ancestors were slaves. So education is really important to me. Okay. And so one of the quotations is, the schools we go to are reflections of the society that created them. Nobody is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them. Nobody is going to teach you your true history, teach you your true heroes. And if they know that knowledge will help set you free. Okay. They know this. She called it out. Like, nobody's gonna, why would they teach you how to be free? Why would they teach you that? Why would they teach Black children that their ancestors come from the continent of El-Kelbalan, where they lived in community and they tended their land, one of the most wealthy and richest, land masses, continents on the planet, one of the largest. Like, they minimize the size of Africa. Everything is intentionally done to minimize the humanity and the value of people of African descent. Because the only way to steal people's natural resources is to convince yourself and others that they do not deserve what is on their land, the original people. So when you go and you sit at a conference in Berlin and you decide to divide up the continent, you can do so with a clear conscience because you convinced yourself that those people don't matter. And they spent the next several hundred years around the world convincing us that we do not matter. Official languages of African nations being colonizer languages makes me sick. And the fact that there are still African heads of states who will not change that show up at the UN speaking goddamn Portuguese. But anyway, she said, nobody in the world, nobody in history has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who were oppressing them. This is also rhetoric that we have heard from people like Kwame Ture. Okay, this idea that you keep trying to ask them for freedom, you keep trying to work with them, you keep trying to appeal to them and get them to see us as human. They have no conscience, as Kwame Ture told us. You want to appeal to their consciousness. White people have none. What moral sense are we talking about? People who oppress others have no morals. They have no values. Okay. Yes, Lorena, Portuguese is, there are several nations on the continent where Portuguese is one of the official languages. Again, remember, the Portuguese were the worst out of everybody. They do not get enough smoke, but the Portuguese were the worst European nation when it came to the trafficking of human beings, just in physical numbers. They kind of fell back a little bit, but everybody looks to the British and things like that. It's the Portuguese who did the worst. But anyway, that's why Brazil is so Black. But anyway, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Many freedom fighters and demonstrators today use this refrain. I know the Black Youth Project in Chicago was often using this. Other folks in different parts of New York City and DC and others, when they come together for demonstrations and when they marching and things like that, they will say it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. If you have heard that, that comes from Assata Shakur. Okay. She says, back to the schools and education, she says, schools in America are interested in brainwashing people with Americanism, giving them a little bit of education and training them in skills needed to fill the positions the capitalist system requires. As long as we expect America's schools to educate us, we will remain ignorant, right? Calling this out. This is relevant to this day, okay? This is relevant. This is still happening. That's why Sankofa Summer School exists. That's why you have the opportunity to come learn from people of the African diaspora, learn some truth, learn some new things. This is why I have the Patreon that I have and why I share all the information I share on social media in the ways that I do. You don't know this stuff. And so I'm trying to help, and unless you seek it out yourself, and why would people seek it out? I have so many white followers, especially on Threads, who are just constantly like, thank you for teaching me this. I did not know this. You're welcome. And why did you care? A lot of the stuff I know, I didn't learn in school either. Yes, I have a PhD in African American Studies. I didn't learn a lot of this stuff in school. I have a bachelor's degree in African American Studies. I didn't learn necessarily all these things in school. A lot of it I did. But a lot of the stuff I learned is because after I left undergrad, we got this thing called Google. Well, a few years later, we got these search engines where I could go online and learn things. And I'm the brainiac that has intellectual curiosity. And I just started looking for stuff, just random stuff. You know what you can do right now, y'all? Because I'm actually going to write a piece on it. I've been working on it. I got to finish it or whatever. Why is 1973 important in United States history? Or what significant things happened in 1973? Put the minus AI. We don't need AI coming and lying to you. Go figure it out. I want you to make a list of all the major things that happened in 1973. But see, your brain has to work that way. And unfortunately, it's not just Black people who have been miseducated. It's everybody who has been miseducated except for Asian folks, because y'all got the best goddamn education in the world. But white people also have been denied American history. And the reason why you've been denied so much of American history is because they don't want you learning about us. They don't want you learning about indigenous people. They don't want you learning about the Mexicans. They don't want you learning those things. They would rather erase entire segments of American history than have you learn about the contributions of people who are not white. Okay? That's what that's about. And you have to understand that. So you not having the intellectual curiosity is by design. Okay? The fact that you wake up and don't even think, hey, let me actually go and teach myself something new about the civil rights movement. You don't have the intellectual curiosity and you're also lazy. I'm just gonna, okay. I'm sorry. Like I think, hold on. So I think I got another one. Do I have another one? Let me see. Did I have another one? Yeah, I do. Hold on. I don't know why that wasn't coming up. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, liberal is is the most meaningless word in the dictionary. I'm going to say that again. As far as I'm concerned, liberal is the most meaningless word in the dictionary. History has shown me that as long as some white middle-class people can live high on the hog, take vacations in Europe, send their children to private schools, and reap the benefits of their white skin privileges, then they are liberals. She is not lying. Nothing about this is lying. Nothing about this is lying. It's the truth. And I talk about this all the time. Y'all get mad at me all the time. You feel called out by me all the time. That's okay. I'm just talking like her. I'm not saying nothing that ain't already been said. You voted for Kamala. You would have voted for Obama. You would have voted for Barry 3 times if you could. We all saw Get Out. We know how you are. But if it came down to it, and I honestly do not blame you because I'm a mother myself. If it came down to it, you are going to rely on your white privilege to save your ass. 9 out of 10 of you will. And I get it. But you call yourself a liberal as long as things are okay with you. And so what we've been seeing now is liberals are starting to lose their minds a bit, right? Because they actually are losing some of these things. They actually can't afford the European vacation this year, right? Their kids actually have to go to public schools, right? Or they're going to community college instead because they can't afford to send them to the other schools, right? These are things that are starting to happen in white families. And so now they're getting a little bit scared. They're like, wait a minute. Something really is going on. And we knew that. y'all wouldn't listen to us. We've been talking about this for decades. And now it's starting to happen, right? Another thing that she said, any community seriously concerned with its own freedom has to be concerned about other people's freedom as well, right? Kind of going back to the Black liberation tradition, that this is not just about African Americans in the United States, that our movement is a global movement, that liberation and freedom are global movements. Now, I think last time I told you the difference between the language of liberation and freedom is that liberation comes from the Marxist movement and the communist movement. It is very European, but if you were in Sankofa Summer School this year, or you attended Dr. Anderson's class, he said, my people have always talked about freedom, right? And so freedom is the framework that we are working within. I will continue to use liberation because it's a language that people understand, but I want to make sure that people understand that Afrocentrists are still focused on freedom, and that liberation is a Marxist idea, right? And the reason why, and I think I posted in Patreon, but if not, I'll do it again, a great article by Dr. Nadav where she does an Afrocentric critique of Marxism, right? And it's really important to understand. But anyway, the Black freedom fighting tradition has always been concerned about it. That's why they were talking about Palestine decades ago. People started acting like, well, why I'm minding my Black business? This ain't got nothing to do with me. I voted for Kamala. I just, the Palestinians ain't got nothing to do with me. Forget the fact that there are Black Palestinians, right? There are African Palestinians there. There are African Arab people there. There are African Muslims there. They're there. These are Black people, right? They're there. Aside from that, you have to care, because anybody who is not free, as long as there are people that are not free, none of us are truly free. We cannot live comfortably in a world where people are oppressed and people are in bondage. And unfortunately, not enough people believe that. Unfortunately, we don't have enough people in this world who have that level of empathy, right? So this is just a great reminder that, like, we have to be concerned about others. And then she says, and it is that 1%, the heads of large corporations who control the policies of news media and determine what you and I hear on the radio, read in the newspapers, see on television. It is more important for us to think about where the media gets its information, okay? And what she's basically saying there is stay woke, because a lot of this shit they make up. And as I just showed you, comparing the way they even talked about her passing away, you saw the difference between the AP and Al Jazeera and Fox News, right? What does that mean? So I'm the media girly. I don't know how many people have actually read my dissertation. It's long. It's like, girl, there's like 200 some pages in there, whatever. But I go into this media stuff. It's really important for us to understand how powerful a weapon the media is. Like, and when I speak of the media, I'm meaning, the plural word media, but also kind of big letter T, big letter M kind of institution of media, newspapers, broadcast journalism, radio, podcasts, all of that, right? Music, all of that. Who controls it? Who controls it? As we see these mergers and all the stuff with Jimmy Fallon just really opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact that, like, there's going to be like 3 companies that own everything, right? So what happens when a company has a particular political leaning and they own 40% of the market, right? They got the major radio stations, the major news stations, they're controlling the music, right? They're controlling what music is allowed to be made and what music gets put out there. Like, all that shit getting into your head. It's been 31 years since we've had a collaborative song between a group of Black women that was about empowerment and upliftment. And that song was called Freedom, and it was from the Panther soundtrack 31 years ago. We have not had a single fucking song by Black women coming together on a positive, uplifting song for Black women since. The year after that, Black Men United, all these Black male artists came together singing a song where they are supporting and showing each other love. 30 years later, still have not had a single song like that. They said, that's enough of that. So this is why I talk about people being born in the 90s. You were not alive then. You didn't understand how culturally strong we were in the 90s, how we were finding our way. We were fighting apartheid. We were loving on ourselves. We were telling our stories. And they said, no, y'all are doing too much. Why attack music? Music is universal language. Doesn't matter what education level you're on, you can connect to it, right? Doesn't matter where in the world you are. So music becomes extremely powerful. In my dissertation, I talk about film. Film is probably the moving image is the second most powerful media. And look at how that is controlled. Look at what they allow us to see. In the 1990s, every single day of the week, you would find shows that had Black families, Black situations, things like that. That led the way for Latinos to have shows and Asians to have shows and things like that, right? All that stuff's gone. They said, no. Not on our shows, no. Y'all families are a little too nice. Wait, different world got y'all going to college? Nope, no more college shows. All these Black men are married with kids and they're funny and having good times? No. That's inspiring too many of you to get married. All these songs about love and loving each other and wanting to be together, and you're actually forming relationships and you're all moving to Atlanta because you got money now under Clinton. And no. That's how it works. And a lot of times people will think that that's a conspiracy theory, but it's absolutely not. Ask anybody who has worked in media for even a year, and they'll tell you exactly how the media manipulates every single narrative. Everything that you hear, see, experience is by design. And that's why independent media is so important these days. That's why shows like this and your support of stuff like this is really important, because you cannot trust AP. You can't trust Reuters. You can't trust any of them to tell you the truth. If you let them tell it, all you would know about Assata Shakur is that she's a most wanted terrorist or whatever the hell they saying that she is. You would not know her as a mother. You would not know her as somebody who was loved by her friends and her family. You would not know her as this brilliant writer and thinking and philosopher. You would not know her as this freedom fighter who served children free meals and helped educate people and got people healthcare services and things like that. You wouldn't know these things because they don't want you to know those things. So it's really important. I love that. Yes, Michelle Ndigiocello's Plantation Lullabies album paints a picture. Absolutely. And the liner notes from her Cookie album, the anthropological mixtape, she talks a lot about how all the people that she wanted on her album, she could not have it because the labels came in and would not let them collaborate. So that's why music also sucks, because they no longer allow organic collaboration. Back in the day, we could just have artists come together and make a song and let it be great. Now the labels have to approve, and they won't approve it because they don't want beautiful music being made. All they want you to hear is suck dick, fuck this, hate niggas, hate bitches, do drugs, drink whatever's in this cup, get high, pass out, shoot each other, rob each other, sell drugs to each other. That's it. They don't want you hearing nothing else. Nothing else. And anything outside of that, they're putting it in people that can't sing, so you can't understand what the hell they're saying anyway, because you can't tolerate the assault on your ears. So anyway, Assata Shakur, very, very important. And the last thing I just want to say is that a lot of the people of the 92% have been posting RIP messages related to Assata. When just a few days ago, they were upset about people protesting Kamala Harris and her book tour. So I just feel like if you're one of those people, you probably need me to explain to you that that's not how that works. Okay. So Kamala Harris is a Zionist. Kamala Harris is a neoliberal. Kamala Harris is a cop. Assata Shakur would have never, ever, ever, ever in her Black ass life voted for that woman or supported her, because Assata Shakur is an abolitionist, as am I, which is why I was never going to vote for a cop. Y'all say, oh, there's not a cop. What the fuck you think an attorney general is? You think of fucking, like, come on. She's a cop. And then she became the vice president of this imperialist nation. That's a pig. I was never gonna never gonna vote for that. But because I'm actually like true to my values. I don't know about some of you. And catch that how you want to catch it. I don't actually give a shit. Because that's what many of you are full of. And I'm not talking to the folks that's sitting in this audience right now because you are actually progressive, but there may actually be some of you sitting here who need to hear this. Okay. That woman deserves to be protested every single day for the rest of her life. This private citizen nonsense, shut up. Because you don't say the same thing about George Bush. When George Bush comes out and he's talking about painting things, you all want to bring up Katrina. Rightfully so. You should bring up Katrina. Okay? You should never let him forget what he did to those people. Okay? What he did to this community. People are still suffering all these years later. He deserves it. And she does too. I don't care about this book in which she's throwing everybody under the bus and not holding herself accountable. And that was actually what I was going to talk about today, but I'm not, because I'm talking about Mama Assata. So I'll postpone that again to next week. Maybe we can get Dr. Hall on and we'll talk about it. You can't post that she's a private citizen and it's reckless to protest her and it's meaningless to protest her, and then turn your ass around and talk about rest in peace, Assata Shakur. That is insulting and you disgust me. Go ahead and unfollow me. Go ahead and unsubscribe. I don't care. You're a hypocrite and a fraud, because those two things cannot coexist. Assata Shakur would be supporting those protesters. So Assata Shakur would probably be standing outside with a Palestinian flag waving it. And see, that's how I know y'all don't know even what your politics are. Because while all of you were talking about we're going to rest, we're not doing anything, people like Assata Shakur never stop resting. That woman has not been able to rest because she was living in exile. And at any moment, especially with the administration we have, they could have sent people in there into her house and pulled her and kidnapped her in the middle of the night, put her on a goddamn plane or put her on a boat and brought her back. So every day she had to live in fear for her life. While you all, whose only activism was voting for Kamala Harris, will drink your Starbucks, right? And talk about we could have been at brunch by now if she was president. Yeah, you'd be at brunch and Israel would still be killing children every single day with bombs that she would sign off on. See, because y'all don't understand how politics work. You don't understand that the president of the United States is going to be a war criminal, inherently going to be a war criminal. And so for you to come and say, rest in peace to Assata, because she's so brilliant and she did all these wonderful things, that she was a freedom fighter, what the do you think she was fighting against? She was fighting against Kamala Harris. She was fighting against people like her. You cannot, those things cannot exist together. And I'm sorry if it's the first time today you had to think about that, but that's the truth. I will not sit idly by and allow you all to get away with that. Being radical is costly. Trust me. I know this. It has cost me a lot. But one thing I'm not going to do is back away from my values and my beliefs and my morals. And fundamentally, I believe in freedom from my people. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris does not. So if you were out here defending Kamala Harris, who you say is a private citizen, but then we're complaining about her not having Secret Service coverage, which I actually think is messed up. She should. She's always, and you're saying she's not a politician. That woman is always going to have been the vice president of the United States. Are y'all on crack? I don't know how anybody fixes their mouth to say that a person who was vice president of the United States is no longer a politician. I know how you say it. It's coming from a lot of people who were born in the 90s. So your education sucked, which is what I was just talking about. You don't know civics. You don't understand government. You don't understand how these things work. So you're just spitting off, just talking all of this stuff, and you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I will not allow it. I will not allow you to play in my face. I will not allow you to play yourself. You got to pick a side. You're either picking Kamala or you're picking Assata. You can't have both. I love you all very much. My food is here and I'm going to go eat it. Y'all have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Love on each other. I love you all. I love you all with the love of revolution. I love you with the spirit of Assata Shakur. I love you with everything that I have that values your humanity and your right to be alive. We don't always have to agree on everything. We don't. Because I know that I'm radical and there's a privilege to my radicalism because I have reached the highest level of education and because I have done all these amazing things in the world and I've had all the bylines and the awards and all those wonderful things. So I recognize that I'm in a place of privilege to be that. But I'm also in a place of they could shoot me tomorrow, y'all, because of all of that. So I don't take that for granted. And every time I show up here, it's another day that I'm here with you all. And I love you all very much. I respect you. I want you to love yourselves. I want you to love on each other. Hug somebody deep this weekend. At least a 30-second hug. Hug somebody deep. Right now, today, you probably need to send a text message to someone telling them that you love them. Go do it. Okay? We are not promised tomorrow. All right? I love you all. Be good.